This documentary reports on the label printing industry today, its drivers and trends, the game-changing technology, and new profitability tools.
The label printing industry is currently in a very dynamic place and at a crossroads. What we have happening is we have brand owners, packaging buyers exerting more and more pressure on label converters. Cut costs, shorten delivery times, shorter and shorter run sizes, vendor-managed inventory practices, so we have more and more pressure exerted onto the label converters themselves.
Competition is fierce in the label business. There's a lot of printers out there today, so you have to up your game. We were late coming into the digital arena, so when we decided to come into the digital arena, we had to really think about what direction we were going to take. So we looked at inkjet, we liked the technology of where that was going, and we looked at the speed because we needed to have some sort of a leg up over the people that have been in the market for years.
There was a digital summit just recently talking about this technology, the digital technology and the advancements and why people have been reluctant. And it was interesting during the whole discussion over the 2 days of events, probably 50% of the attendees were there to learn about digital, but when you asked them when they left what they were going to do, they all still were very undecided. I think they're struggling to see how it fits. And I think some of that may come from maybe not having the strong relationships with their clients. They're just really fulfilling a service. They're maybe not engaged in the future, what the clients are looking for, how they're developing or branching out in their packaging needs.
We were very stubborn. We felt we were just as good as digital anywhere, and we could print Flexo as well as anyone, as fast as anyone, as competitive as anyone. We weren't going to let them in the door. We were going to stay our ground, improve our process, obviously, make the pre-press run a little faster, make plates faster, mount them faster, pay attention more closely to the customer demands and such, but we weren't going to let them in the door.
Because of the work that LPC does with TLMI, the Tag Label Manufacturers Institute, we survey label converters on an annual basis. We've been doing this since 2011. We ask these converters, are you going to buy a conventional press over the course of the next year, 18 months? Are you going to buy a digital press over the course of the next year, 18 months? In this most recent survey, nearly 50% of TLMI converters said, my company is going to be purchasing a digital press over the course of the next year, 18 months. In 2011, that number was about 18%. So we can see 18% 2011, today, almost half. That's very significant and very indicative of where the industry is going.
If you look at the last 10 years, and we've been through the biggest recession since the Great Depression, and we survived, we came through that. We realized we had to make a lot of changes, and one of those changes was to be on top of the technology part of our business. And I think we've done a great job of doing that, and we need to continue to do that. And I believe that if we hadn't made the changes and really increased our capabilities as far as the technology, that we wouldn't be here today.
We run probably 95% of the process color we run is digital. And we thought that the Flexo business would drastically decline because of that. We were taking jobs off those presses. And the exact opposite has happened. It's freed up capacity on those presses now. I can provide the same service Flexo now that I can provide with digital because that capacity, I can change over jobs that maybe aren't as complicated as what I would run over on the digital press. And we've never been busier Flexo-wise since we've gotten the digital. So it's really opened up a lot of business for us on the Flexo side.
There's definitely a comfort zone where label converters who have always had conventional press technology on their production floors are. They're craftsmen. They're very good at producing conventionally printed, usually Flexo, labels. They're good at meeting short run size requirements. They're good at meeting high quality requirements. However, as these run size requirements get smaller and smaller, they're starting to think of, does digital have a place for me? Is this a viable technology for me? They're thinking about it. If you're a company with more than $4 or $5 million in annual revenues a year, if you're a label converter that size, you're thinking about digital.
Flexo still is going to play a role. I think it's really going to come down to the ongoing advancements in digital. Will we get to a point someday that digital technology is surpass 250, 300 feet a minute? I think there is a mark out there that once the technology exceeds 300 feet a minute, that could be the start of the end for traditional Flexo technology.
The tipping point in terms of technology is the move to digital in printing, and definitely in the label business, it's a critical factor. I would say that most of the short run color label business has moved to digital. So in the beginning, when we purchased our machine, it was moving work from Flexo to digital, but we find that we're competing with other digital providers. So our digital has to be great and as good as theirs, and in order for us to be successful.
If I'm a conventional label printer, how do I decide what format and what brand digital press to buy? And I think a lot of what goes into that process is peer sharing. We exist in an industry that's very open. If you're not my direct competitor and you purchased a digital press last month, the month before, last year, I'm going to probably feel I can absolutely call you and say, how do you like it? What was the learning curve like? How has the service been? So I think it's important to stress that there's a tremendous amount of peer sharing in our industry. I see label converters. I rub shoulders with a lot of them at industry association meetings, at trade shows, and it always amazes me at how open they are and how much information they're willing to give one another to help each other out.
Yeah, when we talk about the vetting process for the technology, there was a small team, roughly 5 of us, that traveled to, I think in the end it was roughly 6 different manufacturers of digital technology. So we looked at a wide variety of platforms. You talked about earlier there was a criteria, but I think even more importantly in the end there was a comfort. We were also looking for a client not only about the technology and their resources and technical advancements and speeds and all those other good things, opacity, but it was about, do they carry the same core values and beliefs in the business? Are they truly a strategic partner?
Well, a company our size, we have to be extremely careful and be on top of our game when we're investing in new technology. So we do a lot of research. We vet any company that we're going to engage with and make sure that that company is going to be there for the long haul and they're going to continue to invest in their technology so we can really form a partnership and move forward together.
Currently, one of the greatest challenges in our industry, the label converting industry, is the recruitment of millennials. If you ask a group of label converters, what are your biggest pain points? What are your biggest day-to-day issues? I promise that the recruitment of qualified personnel, and especially the recruitment of qualified younger personnel, is going to be one of their top 3 every time.
Digital printing is easier for people from my generation because we grew up around computers. Compared to the older people here, they aren't well accustomed to using computers like we are, so it's harder for them to run a machine like this.
If they asked me to go back to be a Flexo operator, I would ask them I prefer not to. I'd like to stay digital. It's very, almost fun to be running a digital press.
I worked in setup on the Flexo side for about 15 years, and never operated the presses though. They've just always been, like I said, intimidating. There's a lot of moving parts. I've been more or less afraid of losing a limb than anything, so it was never really an interest of mine.
We've talked about this. There's no doubt all of our facilities, finding talent has become, a real concern for all of us. And I don't think just Smythe, I think our industry as a whole. As I travel and meet with a number of constituents across the industry, we all have the same story.
Well, there's no doubt that we have an aging workforce, and I would say most of our Flexo operators are boomers, and we're probably getting to the point where that's going to change. So yeah, it's difficult to find and retain mechanically oriented employees that can learn how to run Flexo efficiently.
So when we talk about bringing in digital and we're introducing it to our younger workers, they're very attracted by the technology, almost to the point where they forget the environment that they're in, because again, it's a very technology-driven business. It's sexy. I like to say we're putting sexiness back into the label industry.
When running the Flexo compared to the digital printer, we had to mount plates, set heads, add ink. Over here, we just upload a file that's sent from the art room and then press run and it prints right away. The only time we have to mess with the ink is when it gets low and we have to change it, but that's about it.
HP is the player. But that's where, Domino's digital inkjet, and there's a real future for digital inkjet. And digital inkjet has been the monkey wrench thrown into sort of the digital bag lately because the quality levels of digital inkjet have gotten higher and higher and higher. So it's a viable contender.
When I'm pricing items, I will price 3 different scenarios to compare and see what pricing is the most cost effective. I start with the Domino Digital, and that is best for small to mid-range runs with multiple SKUs and a variety of more colors. Then I will quote it Flexo, and that is more for larger runs with a smaller number of SKUs. I find that's when that is best. And then I will quote it HP Digital in that calculator, and that usually is higher, but we will use that pricing if it is closer to the destination.
For example, we had 5 jobs to set up on the Domino today. We can set them up back to back. We go through, we do a quick run-up of all 5 of them, qualify everything, make sure the colors look good, put your quantities in after everything is qualified, and push start and let it go. Where on the Flexo side, you can only run up one at a time, one label at a time to make sure your colors are good. After that item has run, then you have to take everything down, analoxes, inks, plates, do the whole setup again for each individual copy, which times 5 takes 5 times longer than it would take here.
Domino, of course, supplied us with a tool to help run analysis. We have our own internal, I'll say, systems that we can run in parallel to kind of look where those crossover points are when it makes sense to run digital versus running traditional Flexo.
We have customers that demand digital no matter what the quantity is. I mean, I've run some jobs that you would think twice about running digitally because of the length. They don't care. They want the quality, the consistency of the digital printing.
We seriously looked at HP, and they are a great company, but the Domino machine was a better fit for us.
Yeah, I'm amazed on the reluctance to want to take this step into this technology that last year represented 50% of the label press sales. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what else needs to take place other than imagine an iPhone 6. Okay, well, when's the iPhone 7 coming out? I'm going to wait. Okay, well, how many iterations are you going to wait before digital is going to maybe hit that plateau? You're going to be lost. You're going to be left behind.
People that haven't made the jump to digital are just falling behind. They are going to lose the customers, the legacy customers that they had or have, to people that do have digital, and it is going to impact them down the road. It's going to be a lot harder to recoup those customers once you lose them.
Right, I would think that either they're afraid of making the decision because of the money they'd have to put out. They don't know the benefits, they don't understand the benefits of digital, and they're somewhat happy with where they are, they're complacent. So I think it's definitely a dangerous place to be.
The most important thing to understand about the printing industry is that it's always evolving. New technologies are going to come constantly, and you have to stay on top of what the trends are. I think the trends are going to be that, runs are going to continue to be short. There's going to be a lot more SKUs of products just because consumers are demanding that. I think there's going to be added print quality features, like people want glitz and glam, but a lot of that makes printing really exciting, and you never know what the next phone call is going to bring.
I've been a printer for almost 40 years, and I'm of the opinion that if you can use one of these, you can operate one of these.
So, you probably have some questions. Where do you think you stand? Is your business ready for digital? And with which digital provider? And the most important question, can I make money? And that's where Domino can help. We have crossover and total cost of ownership tools that provide the clear answers you're looking for. Real numbers using your data. So take a closer look to see if Domino Digital Printing is the right solution for your business.